Okay, I'm going to try and be brief, truly, because I really want people to take some information from this video, actually. If you have a chronic health condition, please give this video a chance. Please. I have some important information. On the screen, you can see I have this condition from a study. The condition is called hereditary coproporphyria. Okay, it's rare, quite rare. But we're going to get back to it in a second. The point of me showing you that is we're all different genetically. Like right from the get-go, we're all different. And then through our life choices, we're also all different. So you're very unique. And it's just important to remember that you're unique and that you have unique health conditions and unique medical needs. You need to have specific medications and specific diets, specific lifestyle choices. For instance, if you have a terrible thyroid condition, for instance, maybe exercise isn't the best idea for you, actually, because it can actually make your condition worse. Exercise is generally great, but if you have a severe thyroid condition, whether it be severely hypo or severely hyper, exercise is going to make you worse until that's properly treated. I recommend the carnivore diet ad nauseum on this channel. But if you have this hereditary coproporphyria, or if you have type 1 diabetes, you will die from a carnivore ketogenic diet. And that's what this video is about. I wanted to play devil's advocate a bit. What condition would not only not be benefited from my diet that I recommend everyone try, but would specifically end you up in the ER? And what condition of that same type would benefit from a whole food, plant-based vegan diet? I was thinking, and I remembered there's one episode of Dr. House where he had someone come in with hereditary coproporphyria. And at the end of the episode, I might play a clip. He gives this person a big chocolate cake. And they used to be obese, and they think it's sort of like a cruel joke or something. But actually, if you have an acute episode of hereditary coproporphyria, glucose, specifically refined carbohydrate, can basically cure you momentarily.
Feeling crappy again? Brought your cure. Give you an IV of the stuff, but frosting gets to get stuck in a little tube.
Is this a joke?
It's not a joke. It's an actual licensed physician with an actual diagnosis. Hereditary coproporphyria.
It doesn't mean they should eat refined junk foods. But what it does mean is they basically need to be treated the opposite. Not only that, they can't have red meat. They need to have a low iron diet, meaning they need to have high carbohydrates, low iron. Whereas me, I have to have no carbohydrates, high iron. So our diets are literal polar opposites. They would do well on a vegan diet because vegan diets generally have less iron and actually make most people anemic. But for them, that anemia would actually help them. They wouldn't become anemic. They generally have hemochromatosis, too much iron. But yeah, so for them, vegan diet that brings your iron down and has high carbs helps their condition. Put me on that diet, I end up in the ER. Put them on my diet, they end up in the ER. I wanted to find this condition, so I'm glad I had a memory of it, to illustrate a point, right? You're unique. This is hereditary coproporphyria, which means they were born with these genes. Now, your genes don't necessarily dictate your life. They have to be activated or deactivated, you know, so you can activate and deactivate them. You can attenuate and cause them to be expressed more through your lifestyle choices, through your diet, through your medications, really your whole environment. And part of your environment is what you do with your body and what you put into your body. So it's very complex. It's so complex that even if you had all the information, you would not know what to do, nor would any doctor. It's too much information. You have too many genes interacting with too many chemicals that are way too complex. I mean, even just talking about like the immune system, you know, I was going down that rabbit hole where I found, oh, IgG1 kappa would actually help my condition. And that's just like one part of IgG1, which is just one part of IgG, which is just one part of your immune system, which is just one part of like a cell type, you know, like, which is just one part of a whole cascade of different chemicals and different cell. Anyway, the point is no one can think about this except maybe like genius diagnosticians like Dr. House, you know. And you'll never find a doctor like that in your whole life because he would be sued every single episode. And then that's the point. That's what I want you to take away from this. If you were a zebra, you got an autoimmune condition, you got hereditary copper porphyria, you got type 1 diabetes, you have Zoe Alexandria, the person I've talked about several times, who died at 29 years old. Zoe was under the care of a rheumatologist for many years, over a decade. Zoe and I both started estrogen at 25 years old. Our conditions, which were normally manageable, became unmanageable at that age after taking estrogen. Zoe, under the care of a rheumatologist, got worse and died, despite the fact that they had a cure that the rheumatologist knew about, because I knew about it, so the rheumatologist must have known about it. Recently I made a video on it where we have this new method of these CAR T cells, these CAR proteins they can start onto the T cells and cure autoimmune disease. But notice that the title of that paper that I put in that video said, what did it say? World first treatment sends autoimmune disease into remission. But that's not what the title of my video said. The title of my video said, a cure to autoimmunity. Am I clickbaiting? No. They cured it. Imagine if you had cancer, right? And all they had to do was inject you with something. And it went away. It wasn't in your blood. It wasn't in your body. Gone. Would you call that a cure? I fucking would. Maybe it comes back. Well, we do it again. But I'd call that a cure. And I think most people would. They cured autoimmune disease. Rheumatologists must know about it because I know about it. If they don't know about it, then gosh, we're in a worse state than I even thought. I'm pretty sure they know about it. They won't do it for you, though. Even if you're a 29-year-old who's dying. Why? Too expensive. Untested and too expensive. So what will they do instead? They'll give you medications that help your symptoms. But you'll get worse. So your symptoms will get worse. You'll need more medications. You'll need higher doses of medications. And the medications will have side effects. And in Zoe's case, the medication side effects were so horrible. They took everything from Zoe. At 29. I can't imagine. I can't imagine, really. How quick, because for me, I've lost things, almost everything I loved. I can't do anything I love anymore. Can't play games, can't play guitar without terrible pain. Can't do most things, but I can still do a lot of things. Just nothing I loved, unfortunately. I can't even eat the foods I loved. But I've had a lot of time to accept that and deal with that. And the funny thing is, you always, this is something to know. If you ever have like a tragedy in your life, you lose an arm, it's going to be horrible. You're going to be like, oh my God, I can't live in this reality. You're going to feel like you literally want to jump out of your body and just disappear. But you'll get used to it. Crazy enough. You'll normalize. Amazing. It's just the human condition. You can't be anxious and sad forever. It's impossible. So no matter how bad things get, you'll always normalize. Until you die, I mean, then you can't really normalize anymore, but it's just good to know, if you ever have a traumatic event, you will normalize in it. A new form of yourself. Doesn't mean it's always great what you normalize as, but you will. The point is, why did Zoe die? Terrible condition. I think Zoe had encephalitis with IgG deficiency. But that's not important. The point is, they could have helped it. They didn't. Why? Zoe was a zebra among zebras, right? By the time you get to a rheumatologist, you're a bona fide zebra. But what if you're a zebra among zebras? Zoe's condition was so rare that even though they knew the cure, basically, they wouldn't, Zoe was never even offered it and probably didn't even know about it. Because doctors are meant to cure 80% of the patients, right? So for instance, you go to the ER. They're there to help with head injury, gunshot wounds, heart attacks, strokes, blah, blah, blah. Acute things that can be dealt with right now. But if you're like me, and you end up in the ER with a 160 heart rate, they're just going to look at you and go, that's a shame. Well, you're healthy enough to deal with a 160 heart rate. You're pretty young. So good luck. You can come back when your heart's failing. And then you will eventually have to come back when your heart fails. And they'll hopefully be able to save you, or you'll die. Oops, oh well, happens. We'll move on to the next person. That's our healthcare system. Why? Because they're not meant to treat chronic disease in the ER. Even if your chronic disease has led to an emergency situation. That's important to remember, right? They have no way of treating chronic disease in the ER. If your condition is about to kill you and you're a person who has chronic disease, you're fucked. You have to be your own doctor. If you go to your primary care physician and you're dying of chronic disease, what do? Well, they're a primary care physician. They only are there to do your blood work and prevent illness and refer you to people who might be able to better help you. So I'm dying of a chronic health condition. Let's say I'm Zoe, I'm dying of a chronic health condition. I go to my primary, they do the tests, but I'm dying. The tests come back clean, nothing wrong with me, but I'm literally dying. Eventually, after you lose everything in your life, after everything is taken from you, they'll be like, okay, well, clearly you're extremely sick. I'll refer you to a rheumatologist even though you have no blood marker. If you have a blood marker and you're very lucky, they will refer you to a rheumatologist. But if you're a person like Zoe, who's got such a rare condition, they're not going to find it on blood tests. So you're not going to be referred until everything is ruined in your life. Then you'll be referred. But by the time you're referred to the rheumatologist, your life's already over. And then also, they're not going to cure you because you can't cure autoimmune disease. Like I mentioned before, that article. Remission, not cure, but it is a cure. They're not trained to think that autoimmune disease could be cured, even when they cure it. So for them, it's okay, you have a condition, it will last your whole life, and it will get worse or better. We have really no way of controlling this, and we can do plasmapheresis, and we can do all these things. Hopefully that's enough. Cross our fingers. We can deal with your symptoms. But if your condition worsens, you'll die. And painfully too, might I add. So who helps you? No one. That's the point. If you have a chronic issue and you're a zebra, you are alone. And it's just important to know that. Because if you don't know it, you might be like Zoe. Trust the doctors. The doctors know best. The doctors told Zoe, there's nothing wrong with the estrogen. The doctors told Zoe, these medicines will help you. The doctors told Zoe, we know your condition. We've figured it out. It's a rare form of encephalitis, and this is how we can treat it. We can give you IgG antibodies, and these are just fixing the symptoms of the condition. They're not curing the condition itself. They would never think to cure the condition, even when they have studies showing them they can, because it's an incurable condition in their minds. Now, sadly, I can't access the things I know would cure me. It's locked behind paywalls and higher technology than I can ever possibly have by myself. So you need to go through them, but they won't let you. So you're stuck. So it is a chronic condition because they won't cure you. So you have to find the diet that works for you. You have to find the supplements that work for you. You have to find the medicines. In my case, I'm buying medicines I shouldn't even have because doctors won't give them to me. So I'm trying them on my own by looking at the studies, and I'm taking on risks I know. Because no doctor would ever allow me to under their care. It's just the current state of things. I do wonder if it'll ever change, but until things become general practice, standard of care, your doctor, unless you're literally on death's door, isn't going to try it. Because they'll be sued, and it generally won't even cross their mind, honestly, because they're so used to looking for horses, not zebras. So for instance, again, I go to the ER with a 160 heart rate. What do they think? Well, it's got to be a heart issue. Let's look for, troponin levels in the blood, and maybe it was a heart attack, or no, blood levels look fine. Heart rate's still 160, but blood levels are fine, so it wasn't a heart attack. So we'll give you a referral to a cardiologist. Wear this heart monitor. You wear the heart monitor. You go to the cardiologist. Everything looks fine. Okay, you're good. And you're like, well, what's wrong? I don't know. Have a good day. Because you didn't have the horse markers, and they don't look for the zebra markers. So when I say you're on your own, like literally, if you are a true zebra, now if you don't know you're a true zebra, keep going to doctors until you figure out that you are through diagnosis. But once you realize you are, it's like, you gotta accept the fact that you are like totally alone in this. They will watch you die if you're a 29-year-old. They would just literally, watched Zoe die. Kind of blows my mind. I can't imagine how doctors could do that to such a young person who could be healthy, but they did. Yeah, I think that's my point. That's the point I wanted people to take away. I recommend the carnivore diet and ketogenic diet because that's what keeps me out of the ER. That's what keeps me from going the way of Zoe. I recommend stopping estrogen because I know that's what worsens my autoimmune condition. But for some people, I bet estrogen would help you. And for some people, I bet a vegan diet would help you. And I recommend experimenting with these things, even if doctors won't allow you to. You go to sketchy websites, you buy the medication from India. Now, look, 99.5% of people, I'm not talking about you. Even with people with autoimmune conditions, I'm not talking about you. Because a lot of you can be helped. But the real zebras will not be helped. And it's just important you all accept that. Because if you don't, it's just a really dark way to go, you know? Like all the things I do, all the medications I'm taking, my diet, the fact that I'm able to make videos like this where I can have cohesive trains of thought is because of me. It's everything I did. My diet recommendations, my supplements, things I've found that help me. No doctor's ever recommended any of the things I'm doing. In fact, some of them have recommended me to stop that. The only time doctors have ever recommended dietary change is when I mention, the only reason I'm able to even be out of the ER right now is because of this diet. They're like, oh, yeah, you're going to want to stop that diet. Wouldn't do that diet. Because horses don't do well on that diet, maybe. And this is so the only treatment you'll really get is they'll actively try to stop you from doing things that will help you. And if you mention these things to them, they will jot you down in their system as an uncooperative patient immediately, just letting you know. They'll either say this person's mentally ill or they're uncooperative. Why? Because they'll say, well, don't do that diet. And you'll be like, yeah, but it's the only thing that keeps me out of the ER. You're going in their system as uncooperative. The worst part about that, if you end up in the wrong system as like uncooperative because you're on like a specific diet that helps you. Other doctors can see that. And they will at that point dismiss anything you say. And they will chalk most of your symptoms up to being psychosomatic or whatever. And they'll look at you as a horse again, and they'll try to figure out what's actually wrong with you. Assuming that most of these symptoms you're telling them are not right, because they couldn't be. Because they don't make sense to them. Because you're a horse in their mind. So, yeah, it's really bleak. A lot of people think doctors are smarter than they are, and that they are really trying to do everything they know about to help you. Most of the time they can't. They have to treat you with standard of care. If the standard of care isn't the cure, they're not going to cure you. And the standard of care for autoimmune disease is not the cure right now. I mean, the amount of suffering and, like for instance, type 1 diabetes, totally curable. We have the studies for it. Stem cells into the pancreas and CAR protein T helper cells to kill off the B cells. You do these simultaneously, the islet cells in the pancreas return, you have insulin again. Nope. Instead, they're going to have the, medical, massive mega conglomerate sell you insulin for the rest of your life that you have to take all the time to not die from eating, because that's the standard of care. That's better than curing you. They could cure you. Literally right now, they could cure you. They have the technology, and it's not even that prohibitively expensive when you consider a lifetime of insulin. Right? But they don't. So, yeah, that's the end of it. I need to end the video, but it's sad, it's dark, but it's the truth, and it's important people wrap their heads around this, because especially people like me, they think it's a game. They think I'm just making these videos because I want views. I used to get 100,000 views on videos. I don't make those videos anymore because they don't really help people. They just push ideologies. But I see people who are dying my age. I see people who are on estrogen with my issues slowly getting worse. And all I can think is, I know exactly what will help you, but you won't listen to me. And no doctor will ever tell you it, so of course you're gonna defer to them. Why wouldn't you, right? Why would you defer to a crazy, off-the-walls, unhinged YouTuber? In general, it's a bad idea, but I've gone through it. So yeah. Anyway, thanks for watching. If you watched. The sad thing is like, I know it would help me, and I would love to do it. I know it would cure me, and I know it would help my symptoms, but neither of them doctors will give me. So currently I'm taking medicines that will help my symptoms, but I wish I could be under the care of doctors right now, supervising me, so that if something goes wrong, they could give me the treatment for such an acute thing going wrong. But I don't get that. I have to literally experiment on myself like a rat. And if I die from it, well, it's just me being stupid. I was just stupid then. As opposed to going to doctors for years and begging them to help me and them doing nothing. Actively trying to make me worse by telling me to stop doing the only things that help me. It's enough to drive anyone crazy. I mean, I think I said this before in the video. I don't want to repeat myself, and I know I need to end it, but imagine I wasn't gifted with the ability to understand medical studies, and I wasn't gifted with the time to read them. And I had to work, and I had to, therefore just listen to whatever doctors are telling me. I would be in the ER all the time. I'd probably be dead by now. Almost certainly. If not dead, mostly blind and deaf. With heart issues every day. That's my life under the care of doctors if I were a normal person. Maybe dead like Zoe. Still probably on estrogen, thinking, well, it can't be the estrogen. They're saying it's not. My doctors said it wasn't. But they were wrong. They were wrong. I know, because I've tried to go back on a few times, and reliably it makes my condition worse. So, yeah. I really am trying to find like the perfect way to end the video, but I'm not going to find it. So, yeah, thanks for watching, and long video. Hope my point got across. It's a rough, dark, sad reality. But for 0.5% of the population, that is the reality.